Al Capone's empire, once a symbol of power and control over Chicago's underworld, ultimately collapsed through a combination of unexpected events, mysteries, and tragic turns like the Untouchables and Eliot Ness, weapon and tax evasion, betrayal and isolation, lastly decline into madness. His downfall was a series of unforeseen circumstances that, when combined, brought his criminal empire to its knees. Here's how the mystery and tragedy unfolded. Your attention and comments are highly valuable. The Untouchables and Eliot Ness. The mysterious erosion of Capone's empire began with a relentless federal investigation led by Eliot Ness and his team of incorruptible agents, famously called the Untouchables. Their persistence was critical in dismantling Capone's bootlegging network. Ness and his team remained impervious to the bribes and threats that had neutralized many law enforcement officers. This put enormous pressure on Capone's operations, making his once untouchable empire vulnerable to attack. However, Ness's focus was less on Capone's violent crimes and more on disrupting his finances. Ness and his team seized illegal alcohol shipments and raided Capone's breweries, significantly cutting into the mob boss's income. The mystery here lies in how Capone, despite his careful planning, could not seem to outmaneuver Ness. There were rumors within Capone's own organization that he was being betrayed by insiders, adding to the sense of paranoia and intrigue surrounding his downfall. The unexpected weapon, tax evasion. Perhaps the greatest mystery and irony of Capone's downfall was that after years of bloodshed, corruption, and brutality, it was tax evasion that led to his undoing. The federal government, under Frank J. Wilson, a forensic accountant with the Internal Revenue Service, IRS, pieced together a case proving that Capone had never paid taxes on his vast income. Despite his involvement in organized crime, he had carelessly flaunted his wealth, living a lavish lifestyle without properly concealing his financial tracks. The tragedy here is multi-layered. Capone, a man who controlled an empire through fear and violence, was brought down by something as mundane as failing to file taxes. His downfall was not at the hands of a rival gangster or a daring police raid, but through numbers and accounting, a move no one expected. It was a blow to his ego and mystique, reducing him from a criminal mastermind to just another tax cheat. Betrayal and isolation. As Capone's legal troubles mounted, there were whispers within the underworld of betrayal. Capone began to fear that his inner circle was turning on him. People within his organization, such as his former enforcer Frank Nitti, reportedly started distancing themselves from him, seeking their own paths of survival. This added a layer of tragedy to Capone's story. The fearsome mob boss, once surrounded by loyal soldiers, now found himself increasingly isolated and paranoid. The empire he had built was slipping through his fingers, and many believed that his own men were cutting deals with the government to save themselves. Alcatraz and decline into madness. The final chapter of Capone's tragic downfall took place during his imprisonment, first in Atlanta Penitentiary and later in Alcatraz. While Capone's criminal operations continued for a time under his subordinates, the loss of their leader began to cause fractures in the organization. Capone's incarceration symbolized the crumbling of the empire he had once controlled with an iron fist. Capone's time in Alcatraz was marked by a mysterious and tragic decline in his health. Suffering from syphilis, a disease he had contracted in his youth but left untreated, Capone's mental faculties began to deteriorate. The once powerful and calculating mob boss slowly lost his grip on reality. Prison guards reported that Capone became increasingly incoherent and delusional. His once feared presence was reduced to that of a confused, sick man, a tragic end for someone who once ruled Chicago's streets. Capone was released in 1939 due to his deteriorating health, but by then, the once mighty empire was already in ruins. His criminal operations had either been taken over by other mobsters or fallen apart. Capone spent his remaining years in a haze of dementia, living in isolation in his Palm Island mansion in Florida. Tragic legacy. The ultimate tragedy of Capone's life is that, despite his immense power, his empire crumbled into nothingness. The mystery and allure of his criminal persona faded as his illness ravaged him, turning him into a mere shell of his former self. His mental decline and physical decay were a far cry from the feared and ruthless gangster he once was. Capone died in 1947, not in a blaze of glory or in a hail of bullets, but from the lingering effects of his untreated disease. What remained of Capone's empire after his downfall was scattered among other criminals and mob families, as his once ironclad grip on Chicago's underworld dissolved. His story is one of immense rise, but equally devastating and mysterious collapse, marked by betrayals, tragic health decline, and a quiet, undignified death. The empire of Al Capone, once feared and respected, fell apart like a house of cards, leaving behind a legacy of crime, mystery, and tragedy that still fascinates people today. Kindly do subscribe and enjoy watching our videos.